And the last thing I need to do is read through our hearing script. This basically will just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the May 11th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case ZH20220069. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All evidence and testimony that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless a party has submitted evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. The public will then have an opportunity, or anyone from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I will give the zoning plans examiner, Walter Moeller, an opportunity to provide any testimony that he would like in regards to the case. In the event any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, I'll give Mr. Buckenroth an opportunity to tell me about the project, any background that's important for me to know. Excuse me. And then, of course, why you think this should be approved and why I should grant the relief. I'll then go to Mr. O'Brien. I'll give Mr. O'Brien an opportunity to provide testimony. Mr. O'Brien, according to the rules, you really only get one opportunity to testify, to tell me why you think this is a good or a bad project, or to ask any questions. I'll then go to Mr. Moeller and hear from him. And then Mr. Buckenroth, you'll have an opportunity to respond to anything that's been said from anyone during the hearing and then make any final or closing arguments. And then I'll close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot any issues on the fly. To the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. The last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. And so if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then you need to be sworn in. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you're off mute and raise your right hand. Need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Buckenroth, do you intend on providing any testimony here today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien, did you also swear and affirm that
Yes.
the testimony will be the truth? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Before we get started, we had someone join us late here. If there's Becky Walker or anyone on Becky Walker's account, if you could unmute. Hi, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, I'm with Kingsley and Company.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So Mr. Buckenroth, will you be taking the lead here on the presentation of the project?
Yes. Do you guys need me to pull up the application that we had submitted, or do you just want a verbal background on it?
It's completely up to you. I give the applicant a lot of discretion on how they want to make the presentation. Again, I generally want to. I have access to the documents. I can look at them on my end. If you would like to reference a particular document or think it would be helpful to have it up on the screen, feel free to share your screen if you would like. But I'm basically looking for background on the project, why you're asking for it, why you think that it is appropriate for me to grant in this case, the parking relief, and anything else you'd like to tell me about the project you think will help me make my decision one way or the other. Okay.
So we developed the hotel at 2347 Reading Road, and we recently opened June of last year, 2021. Since we've been open, we've roughly been running at around a 50% occupancy level. Weekends, we tend to be a little bit busier, around 70 to 80% occupancy level. We have 113 parking spaces at the property currently. Given those occupancy levels, we usually end up only using probably half to 3/4 of the parking spaces that we have on site. We've noticed a large increase in rideshare, Ubering, and shuttles to and from the airport or wherever our guests are coming from. And so we're asking to decrease our parking count in order to develop an apartment building across the street at 2354 Reading Road. It's formerly known as the United Way parking lot. And we're proposing to build a 53-unit apartment building with about 2,700 square feet of retail on the first floor. With that, we would be short on the city of Cincinnati's parking requirement because we would only have 38 spaces roughly. So our application, our intended use is to decrease the parking count at 2347 Reading Road. So that way we're able to get a 1-to-1 parking requirement at our development at 2354 Reading Road. We believe that the community, we've talked to the community, they're in that Mount Auburn Community Council, they're in support of it. We've talked to United Way, which is just north of the property. And we've talked to the Anna Louise Inn as well, which is just north of our property. They've all had positive feedback for our proposed development at 2354 Reading Road. And they also agree that us not utilizing those parking spaces, it makes a lot of sense for us to kind of end up doing a parking covenant with our future development.
Okay. All right. Anything else right now?
No, nothing to add right now. If you guys have any questions, I'm able to answer.
Sure. So I have a couple initial questions, excuse me, before we go to Mr. O'Brien. One is, what is the total room capacity at the hotel?
Yeah, so it's 113 rooms total, and then we have 113 parking spaces to match that.
Gotcha. And so you want to reduce this to half of 113?
No, we're asking to reduce it to 83. So we want to remove 30 spaces from our current parking count.
Got it. And these spaces are they all across the street? Is that right? Or
correct. They are all across the street on the southern end of the property. And these would be the parking spaces that are furthest away from the front door at the hotel.
Gotcha. And so all the spaces are there at 2354? Are they on the same property that the new development will go on?
So we would have 38 spaces at 2354 when we develop the site. And then we would have these 30 spaces at the hotel for additional parking. So they would be across the street at 2347 Reading Road, these 30.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Let's see. And you said that you're typically operating at a quarter to half capacity?
We're operating right now roughly at, we have probably the past couple of months around a 48 to 50% occupancy level, month over month.
Gotcha. And what is the surround? Are there other options for parking in the area? Let's assume you did reach max capacity for, excuse me, some event or football game or something. Are there other parking options in the area for guests if you were to fill that lot up?
Yes. So we own a couple properties behind our hotel. They're on Helen Street and Burnett Avenue. And Burnett Avenue has, I would have to say, roughly 15 off-street parking or on-street parking spots. And then in front of our building on Helen, there's probably an additional 10 spaces.
Okay. All right, I think that's all the questions I have for right now.
Even if we're at full capacity, we see roughly 30% of our guests are using rideshare or a shuttle. So that's becoming increasingly popular. The Bird scooters and Lime scooters that you've probably seen around the city, we usually have those parked out front of our hotel. So when guests do Uber, then they'll take those to UC or downtown. So we've seen a lot of people just not even bring cars.
Got it. Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have right now. I will, I may have some more at the end, but I think I'll go over and give Mr. O'Brien an opportunity to provide the testimony. Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So I submitted a written document to you. So I'm assuming you have that. I don't really want to read that over in its entirety. You already have it for the file.
That's correct.
Okay. But I would like to point out, I am an adjacent property owner. I touch the parking lot. My property touches the parking lot property for the hotel. I live here. This is my residence, so I'm here all the time. I also work from home. I'm literally here 24/7. I've seen numerous weekends where the hotel has had a full parking lot. In addition to that, we're talking about a hotel that's been open for nearly a year during COVID. So my position would be specifically on the parking at the hotel, that if that property required 113 parking spots in order to get zoning to get approved, and if the hotel has the potential to use those 113 parking spots that were required for that project, then they need to be available. Just because we had a year of operation during COVID does not set a precedent for what's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now. Or again, with football being shut down, et cetera, baseball, they're all back in operation again. The Aeronaut is back in operation again. There is now the possibility moving forward for a lot of days where that hotel is at or near capacity. I don't think we can base anything on what has happened during a pandemic. As was mentioned, the Kingsley Group does have 3 apartment buildings on the corner of Helen and Burnett Avenue. As I stated in my written document, historically, those were Section 8 housing with very few cars, typically 5 to 8 cars over the last 9 years were over there. They have approximately 6 apartments rented already, and there's already 6 to 8 cars there every night. Continuing on that, those apartments, there's 27 apartments. And at market rate housing, as we've already seen since people have started to move in, they're going to have vehicles. These people go to work every day. The street is empty during the day. I'm not disputing that, but that's not the concern here. The concern is overnight parking when the hotel is full and all of the tenants for those 27 apartments are home. There simply is not enough parking, as was testified to, based on the numbers. I did not provide them, but it was stated by the developer just now that maybe 10 spaces out on Helen Street, and I don't remember the number he quoted on Burnett. But that is not even enough parking for the 27 apartments that are on the corner of Helen Street and Burnett. So by reducing the hotel parking, if you reduce the hotel parking and you have a full occupancy at these apartment homes, which I'm sure is going to happen, based on the fact that the minute they started to offer them to the public, people have been moving in, consistently already since they got offered. I'm sure all 27 units will be full soon. So if we look at what's happening here in our neighborhood right here at Helen Street and Burnett Avenue, we're already going to be short parking just with the 3 apartment houses at full capacity. If you take 30 spots from the hotel, and they do have, even if they have 6 wonderful weekends a year, what do the citizens here, what are the residents here going to do while that hotel is full and those 30 cars are now parked out in our streets, blocking our parking, blocking my driveway? What are we going to do here in this neighborhood? There just simply isn't that much parking to accommodate the new structure of the apartment buildings at Burnett Avenue and Helen Street, and then remove 30 more parking spots. We also, Kingsley has the building on the corner of Reading and Helen that could potentially be another commercial venture. Right now they're using it for storage, but it's a prime spot on the corner. There has been some talk of putting a bar in there or whatever. Again, I can't prove any of that, but it's a commercial building owned by Kingsley. If that gets developed, where are the patrons going to park for that? That's on the corner of Helen and Reading. I don't think that the city should be making a unilateral move to just give away parking spaces that at one point in time you felt were relevant. And due to a pandemic, they're no longer relevant somehow. I just don't see that. So as I stated in my document, we have the potential to have like 57 to 84 cars needing parking on a full weekend. We don't have 57 to 84 parking spots here on Helen and Burnett Avenue. I mean, we probably don't even have them if every current resident didn't park for that night. You probably wouldn't get that many. Additional comment as I wrap up here would be that Kingsley Group also owns the corner of the east corner of Helen and Burnett Avenue. It's an empty vacant lot. Previously, I was told by the Kingsley Group that they were going to put parking there, which seemed feasible to me. Now I've been told that they're going to build three essentially three single family homes, but they're going to be attached like townhomes. So if they develop that corner, which is across the street from the 3 apartment buildings directly next door to me, and also directly touches the parking lot of the hotel, if that's developed, we're going to have additional 3 to 6 cars at that residence as well. So that's going to add even to the number that I didn't even state. It would seem to me that this vacant lot at Helen and Burnett Avenue that already touches the south end of the hotel parking lot, that you would just simply pave that and make that part of the hotel parking for either the apartments, the hotel, or the new development across the street. It really wouldn't matter since it would be excess parking above and beyond the 113 that are required. It's just a vacant lot sitting there. It needs blacktop and away you go. But to put the burden on the residents here that have been, longtime residents. I've only been here 9 years. Other people have been here a lot longer than that. And my home is 110 years old. So that we, the neighborhood, have been parking on these streets for at least that long. It just doesn't seem right that we should be displaced.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien, just a couple follow-up questions for you. So it's your testimony that currently with the hotel with 113 parking spots available in 113 rooms, that you're already seeing overflow parking on your street and blocking your driveway from hotel patrons.
I can't say that is directly related to the hotel. There has been some hotel parking on Burnett Avenue from time to time. I can't say that the hotel has blocked my driveway. That I have no proof of, and I don't even believe that is the case with my driveway currently. Because again, they do have adequate parking, and the apartments are vacant except for the 6 people that already moved in, 6 units. So we have yet to see the full, fallout from what is coming, what's already approved and what's already in play, and what's already coming to fruition for the Kingsley Group, which is wonderful. And I would like to say I'm pro for the development on the east side of Reading Road. I have no problem with the development. That's great for the city. It's great for all of us. I just don't think that shuffling parking that can't even be verified at this point due to a pandemic is not the way to do it.
Okay. And so the harm that you see that this will cause is just, it will take away from on-street parking for the residents in the area that do not have off-street parking.
Correct. And most of the homes right here on Helen and Burnett in this area where people would be parking don't have driveways. I mean, so we rely on the on-street parking. In fact, my driveway doesn't allow me to park into it the way it's built, but that's my access to the road, you know, for me to get trash or deliveries or whatever. So I don't even park in the driveway because it's not physically, according to the lot, you know, conducive for me to park. But many of the homes here do not even have a driveway. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably 5 homes on Helen and Burnett, a total of 5 homes that have a driveway. All the rest of the homes are street parking.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for your testimony. I appreciate you being here, and
Thank you
also for your written letter. I'm going to go to Walt Mueller. Mr. Mueller, anything you'd like to provide?
Oh, would just like to say that we did a full review on this and did some studies, read some studies on this nationally. The usage of parking for most of the most apartment complexes and facilities like that, hotels and such, are decreasing in the number that they are required because people are using the Uber systems to get to and from the airport, and then they Uber to wherever they're going to go. The rental car companies have noted that they have a 60% decrease in rental prior to the COVID coming out. Not sure what the numbers are now, but so that's what we based our review on, is that we truly believe that their statement that they would probably be utilizing about 75% of their parking, even if they were completely full, was actually probably a generous number. They're probably going to be closer to 50% based on a lot of the studies that are out there, which is why we were recommending approval for that. And it is for the hotel only. I know he's speaking about some new apartment buildings that are coming online and rental units across the street from him. Those are actually buildings that are already existing, legal non-conforming. We can't go back and make them provide parking for that. But I would refer back to Daniel. He may have some knowledge on this. I do believe that their group is in for a coordinated site review in which they're planning a large parking lot that's going to be very close and associated with those new apartments. So I would like to maybe refer back to Daniel if he'd like to talk about that. But that's the reason why we recommend approval for it, is that we did a lot of research and study based on the numbers they provided us, and we concur with their conclusions.
Okay. Thanks, Walt. All right. Go back to Mr. Buckenroth. Mr. Buckenroth, now's your opportunity if you'd like to respond to anything Mr. O'Brien said or Mr. Mueller.
Yes, no, I appreciate the feedback, Mr. O'Brien. And to address the apartments on Burnett and Helen Street, we're still under construction on 2341 Burnett, and that will have parking in front of the building. And then there will be a good sized parking lot behind the building as well, which we just haven't been able to pave yet since we're storing material back there for 2341 Burnett while it's under construction. And then as Mr. Mueller mentioned, we do have a coordinated site review to purchase Burnett Avenue, because we want to turn that into more additional parking for residents in the apartments and the hotel. And as Mr. O'Brien's mentioned, we've had people park at the hotel parking on Burnett Avenue. Those are usually not guests. We've had to call CPD several times because a lot of people are parking on that street and coming into the hotel to do drug deals and other criminal activity. So we actually monitor our parking lot, and we've contacted CPD about that. That's one of the reasons we're trying to purchase Burnett Avenue as well, is just for the safety, but also to address the parking concern that Mr. O'Brien brought up for those apartments at Helen Street and Burnett Street. And then when we opened, we were actually coming out of COVID. A lot of the studies that we've done is 2021 almost reached 2019 levels for occupancy at hotels, and 2022 is supposed to meet 2019's occupancy levels. all the studies that we've done and conducted, and we're still seeing around that 50% occupancy level. In the summers, it may fluctuate, go up to 60, but as Mr. Mueller mentioned, we're seeing roughly 70% of people staying at the hotel actually using parking spaces.
Okay. And I mean, one last question you may or may not know. I mean, do you have a sense for how many days of year out of the year that you will be knocking on the door of full capacity? Is there anything in the business plan or anything like that has an estimate of how often you're going to be able to get close to that?
So there's going to be a couple days out of the year. I know one weekend is Jazz Festival. I mean, that's everywhere in Cincinnati sold out. And they may have changed the name to the Music Festival down at I think it's Paul Brown. That's one weekend will be sold out. And then last year we were sold out for a Cubs Reds game, which we don't anticipate to happen this year, just based on the performance of both teams.
All right. Anything else in closing or otherwise, Mr. Buckenroth, before we adjourn here today?
No, that's all I have, and I appreciate the time.
Sure. Okay. So thank you all again for your time and your testimony. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today, Mr. O'Brien. So I have reviewed the application materials and the staff report on this. One thing that I'm required to do under the code is do a site visit that typically involves sort of like just driving by and taking an assessment of the neighborhood. So I think for this case, that would be helpful for me to make my decision. And so I'm going to do that. As I said at the beginning of the hearing, it usually takes about 2 weeks. So I'll take all of this under advisement. And I will have a decision out to you all within 2 weeks, maybe a touch over 2 weeks, just because of the volume we're seeing right now in terms of our applications. As soon as I finish the decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing. So you all will have a copy of the decision really just moments after it's complete. If it is approved, Mr. Buckenroth, at that point, you can work with Walt on any necessary permitting. If you have any questions in the meantime, or if you'd like a status update on where I'm at with the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly at my email address, or I believe my number's on the website as well. And I'll be happy to answer any questions or to give you a status update. I can't take any more testimony or accept any more evidence after the hearing has concluded, but I can answer general questions, and I can again give you a status update on the decision. Any questions right now before we adjourn?
No.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all again. I hope you have a wonderful day.